No. What we can say, just through that communication from Accountant General, who wrote to us to open an account, name it special account. I think they submitted a letter, but it's there to open a special account, you know, in dollar denominated and dollar, and giving a name Office of the First Lady. And we just did that and communicated back to them. So perhaps they...
It's a matter of concern that
Yes.
the central bank could be asked to open an account for an office that doesn't exist. Yet the account is open, no questions are asked. It's quite concerning because there is no such office in the budget, the estimates, or in any law that I have come across.
Yeah, I think one could express that concern, but just like I've mentioned, if I may reiterate, this was communicated just like other opening of accounts. So they will suggest names, because under the request to open an account, they are required to state the name of the account, you know, of course we will, and then the denomination of the account. So once we receive that from our accountant generals, we don't normally ask them why this name, why that name. You know, we just act and then communicate back to them that the account is open, a request for signatories to be supplied and specimen signatures.
I don't think this is just about names, because the letter from the Directorate of National Treasury says the account will be used to effect financial transactions relative to the activities undertaken by the Office of the First Lady. Yes. So this is not just a matter of name. They were actually telling you that there was an office in existence that required an account for its activities. And there is no such office as far as I know. That's why I asked you the question, whether you are aware of such an office. So,
yeah, me too, I'm not aware of an office called Office of the First Lady.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any other questions on this account. I have one more account, which is the Green Industries account. Let's move on to this last
Thank
account.
you very much, Madam. The next account
small account as well. So
we're going to present on is called Green Industries and Denomination. Again, this is the name given, and the account numbers.
Who opened the account?
The opening request came from the Directorate of National Treasury. That's the that's the Accountant General to the Governor, and then it reads, I'm directed to write a request for the opening of the special bank account named Green Industries and Denomination under the Office of the President. The account will be maintained in local currency, and the signatories to the account will be communicated to you later. So it was signed by Sabel Jalo for director. So that was the communication that led to the opening.
No purpose was stated.
No purpose was stated. That was all.
And the account was opened by the Senate?
The account was duly opened and then, conveyed to the Director of National Treasury.
Right. Put aside the account opening documents and tell us about you have the statement.
Yes, we have the statement. This account also was a bank master and a T24 statement. The account was opened as stated, it was 28th January 2009. So that was the bank master period. And then the total deposit into that account over the period is $19,905,000. And the total withdrawal was $19,605,000, leaving a balance of 300,000. And the account is dormant. That means it's not active at the moment. So that balance was transferred from Bankmaster to T24, and that's the balance there as at now also, 300,000.
There was no activity after it was transferred to
After it was transferred, there was no activity.
All right. Can we have the statements, the account opening information? What is the source of the monies that went into this account?
Where's the statement? So the source, okay, there are two credits into this account, but unfortunately we couldn't find the documents for the two credits into that account. There are 6,330,000 and then 13,475,000. Those are the two credits. There are 8 transactions altogether, 2 of which were credits, the rest were debits. We got the documentation for all the debits. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the ones for the credits, and there are checks, deposits.
Is there any narrative?
Yes, there are narratives. The first one is just a check deposits, but the second one said check for collection by the order of the Office of the President, reference, and then there must be a letter of 5,000, I think it's 5,000 $500,000 US dollars.
Okay, that's the equivalent at the time of the 13th.
That's the equivalent to the 13,475,000. So I believe we couldn't find the transaction documents for the credits, but these are the narration on the statement. The rest of the transactions were withdrawals.
The withdrawals, which you said are 6?
There are 6 withdrawals.
Yes. Where did the money go, generally?
Yes, the first withdrawal was 1,569,493.01 dollars.
These are checks.
So yes, a check, and this withdrawal, this payment was made to GIPSA, GIPFZA.
Yes. Now GIPA, I believe.
Was paid to GIPSA.
Okay.
So
how many payments went to GIPSA out of the 6?
Yes, the second one also went to GIPSA. The third one also went to GIPSA. And the fourth one also went to GIPSA. The 7th one to GIPSA. So the last one was through an instruction, your authorization to transfer accounts to Green Industry.
Green Industry account in which bank?
Trust Bank. Okay. That is the 5,378,814.25 was transferred to Green Industry account at First Bank. Sorry, Trust Bank Limited.
Trust Bank Limited.
Trust Bank Gambia Limited.
5,398,000. All right. Thank you, Mr.
So that made up
Mr. Jawara.
Even the balance of 300.
Can we have, you did not hand over the account opening information. Please hand over the account opening information, the statements of account.
Yes.
And
I do have passed the account.
Okay, I have the statements, but the account opening information I don't have. You just gave out 2 documents. Can you check, please? Okay. The account opening information and the transactions.
So we have the account opening information here.
The credit transactions and the withdrawals.
Yes.
So put them together.
Yes, the credit, unfortunately, we couldn't find any, but the debit transactions are all here.
Okay. Not even the voucher for the credit. What normally would you have? The advice. What normally would you have if a check is deposited?
No, we should have the deposit slip when the check is deposited. So there will be a deposit slip. But at least we are at the time when we have in Bank Master, and these accounts are closed now. So to get just like the T24, we can get transaction statement from it. Apart from the bank statement, we can get transaction statement from T24. But the Bank Master was not that flexible.
For the purposes of the Commission, I think it's important for us to know where this money is coming from. And into these accounts. Because Green Industries, again, I'm sure you will note, is not a government department.
No, it's not.
There is no government department called Green Industries. To the contrary, there is a company which is the subject of investigation by this commission called Green Industries, which has an account at Trust Bank. So it's important that we know what the source of the funds are, that eventually they are
So I think
expended
we'll
on...
further dig into that, Madam.
Please,
We will
thank
try
you.
to endeavor to get something that could explain, at least the source of these funds to these accounts.
All right.
So the signatory, just like what I was mentioning to you, there was a document I couldn't find. They just told me while I was on the way. So it has not still arrived. That's the signatories to the account.
Oh, you still don't have it?
Yeah, it has still not come, but like they communicated to me, it was Tenemba Jete and Jokuba, but the document they found it, so we will also make that available to you.
Very well. You can submit it to the Secretariat if it doesn't arrive.
Thank you.
But you do have the request for the account to be opened?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
We have the request for account.
Let's have those.
And the transaction document.
Yes, please. And we expect that you'll make further effort to determine
information on the credits.
the credits.
We will. Let us note it.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted the account opening documents for the account number 1101003149, both the statements of accounts under Bank Master Anti-24 and the transactions, the withdrawal transactions, debit transactions from the account. Witness has undertaken to provide the signatories as well as to make more effort to discover the credit transaction documents.
Dollar account request dated 19th January 2009 from Directorate of National Treasury. 2. Second Deputy Governor. 3. Special account name Green Industries and denomination with allocated bank master account number 01200438 and T4 account number 110-100-3149 admitted Mark CB 31A. Bank statement for said bank master account for period 5th February 2009 to 18th December 2009 and the said T24 account with period end balance as at 24th July 2012 admitted Mark CB 31B. Plus, I will add plus accompanying documents. At this juncture, we'll have a break, and we'll be back at 11:45.
Yo harma subi bëgg nga ma kaay foo
Real Life Music.
Yo Harma
It's Real Life
Sudi Begengama Typhoon ma Yo Sude Nom nama Yo Harma Sudi Begengama Typhoon ma Yo Sude Nom nama Begenala bibi Nom nala bibi Mbakil bi may xol moom ci yow mi jox ma sa xol ma woon la mbakil la neex bëgg naa la bibi nopp naa la bibi mbakil gi ngay xol moom ci man mi kaay jege ma woon la mbakil la neex bëgg naa la bibi nopp naa la bibi mbakil gi may xol moom ci yow mi jox ma sa xol ma woon la mbakil la neex yow la ma yàlla boole nga bëgg ko bëgg te lu neex la
ku bëgg de bëgg naa ku bañ na ma jox lu ma si góobee kër ko lii
def na la Sadio Ba def na la amul baay
Yóbbul.
def na la gindanda yóbbu ma fu la neex
ku bëgg de bëgg naa ku bañ na ma jox lu ma si góobee kër ko lii
yow xaar ma Sudi bëgg nga ma kaay foon ma yow Sude nopp nga ma yow xaar ma Sudi bëgg nga ma kaay foon ma yow Sude nopp nga ma bëgg naa la bibi nopp naa la bibi mbakil bi may xol moom ci yow mi jox ma sa xol ma woon la mbakil la neex bëgg naa la bibi nopp naa la bibi mbakil gi ngay xol moom ci man mi kaay jege ma woon la mbakil la neex bëgg naa la bibi nopp naa la bibi mbakil gi may xol moom ci yow mi jox ma sa xol ma woon la mbakil la neex
It's Real Life Music.
ay lëmbaji a toppoce kano kano sama toye fita wanyi kano singatini jalex neko kano 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 mandi kano kano wanyi kano temalano temansino temawulino katonyinkano wentenyale taya mane temalano temansino temawulino katonyinkano wentenyale taya mane ningala suto fonse siboila ningamira fonse mirela nimantomarike ntete tomarikela nyinkano wente tonying nyinkano wente nyalema nyinkano wadunse molefa nyinkano wente labarendile labarindi temalano Temalano, Temansino, Temansino, Temawulino, Temawulino, Katunyikano, Wentenyale Taya Mande, Temalano, 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 Temansino, Temansino, Mansino, Temawulino, Will Katunyikano, Wentenyale Taya Mande, Ninjamani Labankano, Mimankoi, Soldati Ninjamani Labankano, Toy, Nimankuno Canola, Cano Sekuleka, Nimankude Cano to Cano Sakuleka, Alla Ninjamani Labankano, Nameji Majini Majameje Cano, Soldati Ninkanoto, Wakano Sifanda, Tewato, Temalano, Temansino, Temansino, Temawulino, Temawulino, Katunyikano, Wentenyale Taya Mande, Temalano, Temalano, Temansino, Temansino, Temawulino, Temawulino, Katunyikano, Wentenyale Taya Mande. Nyale mande nyenka nointe nyale mande, nyale mande nyenka nointe nyale mande, nyale mande nyenka nointe nyale mande, nyale mande nyale mande nyale mande, nyale mande kanointe nyale mande, nyale mande kanointe nyale mande, nyale mande kanointe nyale mande, nyale mande nyale mande nyale mande, temalano temalano, temansino temansino, mansino temawulino, katinyikano wentinyale fale mande, temalano temalano, malano temansino temawulino temawulino, katinyikano wentinyale taya mande. Kanu yentinyale mande, era era ayentinyale mande, ntebe fala mirola, hey ntema sabarino, kanu bente fala, alawo ayentinyale mande. I lumbaje atopoche kano samatoye fita wanyi kano singati ni jalex leko.
Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, alhamdulillah hamdu kashira. Moro do ko warta samba ben kumanda yoro ben kumanda pade ben kumanda wala nda naaji modo mo bayndina jikolo aro inshallah na dar allah buga boy ngafwa ko inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Taminam.
Afa.
Moro
Monde.
bebe je tanante
Mbali.
kordan
Nando.
tabarakallah
Yo.
kordan
Nando.
yo
Dina de kan nubu. Ajile sijo.
Okay.
Nde terima. Terima endam bakele.
Ala
Ala fala place otala.
pour comme dañu sabola place tay da tambite nyaato
Hadi.
moro yalo ko do be naaja meta a telephone kan moro ifata place
La fala fa dak. Fiye bang.
wallahi alhamdulillah rabbil alamin alhamdulillah hamdan kashira moro do ko warta samba ben ko man yoro ben ko man pati ben ko manda walande
nañu teelu xaar ko mu ñëw waxtu su jotul kenn du ko jullee waaw teelul xaar ba mu ñëw waxtu bu jotul kenn du ko jullee nañu teelu xaar ko mu ñëw waxtu bu jotul kenn du ko jullee pour laal fii dem di laal fee da ngay teylu bul wax fii dem di wax fee da ngay teylu nañu teylu xar ko mu ñëw waxtu bu jotul kenn du ko jullee
Very welcome. You may resume.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, last time you were here, one of the commissioners asked you a question concerning your audited account.
Yes.
And you did say that you had audited account. Did you bring your audited account?
Yes, we have two audits. We have external audits and internal. External is every year. There will be conduct of external audits and there will be report of that. The schedule usually, the audit reports should be out by March, end March of each year. External audit. Internal audit is always ongoing. We usually will have audit plan. That will be submitted to the board, or the audit committee of the board. When that plan is approved, then they go by the plan and they report to the, to the board also. So we should be able to provide you the audit report.
We don't have them now.
No, we don't have them because here at the moment, but we can provide them as soon as we get the report.
The period that most of these accounts cover is from 2009 to 2016. So I think your external audit reports covering the period 2009, unless the commissioners think otherwise, 2009 to 2016, should be relevant to the work of this commission. Also, the internal audit report to the board, how often do they report to the board? Do you know?
I'm not sure about the frequency, but as I mentioned here earlier, we have a whole department on internal audit. There's a director and is well resourced with staff. So I believe there would be, some milestones they're supposed to meet every year.
Very well. If you can also put together the internal audit reports. If not, we will summon the internal director of internal audit to come and produce his reports for this same period, 2009 to 2016.
I think that will be quite helpful to the commission.
All right.
And then I think he will be able to throw more light. Well, he has been the director there over a decade or so. So, you'll have the memory and on number of activities. So I believe he should be able to give you very good explanations of the outcomes of those reports. So external audits, we will, from 2009 to 2016, as you have requested, we will endeavor to provide. Although you will see that we do change auditors. External auditor is a requirement. After 5 years,
that's
every
fine.
time we change. But there are reports. Of course, we will endeavor to provide them as
That's
requested.
fine. All right, thank you. We'll expect you to submit them before Monday, the external audit reports.
Okay, so I think we can do that to the Secretariat?
To the Secretariat.
All right, thank you very much.
If there are any questions from the Commission, I'm sure the appropriate officer would be invited back.
All right,
or
thank you,
yourself.
sir. Thank you.
Sorry, just before you go, I think we also mentioned about the risk management reports.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
if
have
you
the
can
risk
just-
management, yeah.
Yes, please.
So
just-
also for the same period or for specific?
If it's available, because I don't think that the risk management unit was in operation since 2009.
Yeah, it was not very long.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that's
from
true.
what they have, then that
From what
should-
they have?
Yes,
Okay.
that should cover.
So we will also provide that. I
Yes.
know they have a very good head.
Yes.
So you'll be able to give us very good reports.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have for Mr. General.
Very well, you may leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your assistance. Thank you for your assistance. I call Mr. Abdul Koli, former governor of the Central Bank. Mr. What's his name? Mr. Sorry, let me rectify that. Mr. Amadou Koli, former governor of the Central Bank. Ask for Amadou Koli.
Can I use my reading glasses?
Swear by the Almighty Allah
I swear by the Almighty Allah
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing
but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
Thank you. You can wait for further instruction.
Could you kindly give your full name to the commission?
My name is Amadou Koli.
Where do you live, Mr. Koli?
Sancho Basulejo, Comunot.
What work do you do at the moment?
I'm unemployed.
You were governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia.
That's correct.
Would you like to sit down, please?
Thank you. I will.
When did you become governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia?
I was appointed governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia on 3rd December 2010.
And you served as governor until when?
Until 8 May 2017.
Can you tell us about your career before you became governor?
Madam Commissioner, prior to my undergraduate studies, I started work at the then Gambia Commercial and Development Bank as a junior officer until 1985. And when I went for studies, during my undergraduate studies, I worked for KPMG Pitmawick. And in 1989, I was appointed as auditor at the National Audit Office. In 1992, appointed Central Bank Officer Accountant up to December, no, prior to December, in 2005, appointed Assistant Director and 2006 Director of Banking Department of the Central Bank. And then, as I said, December 3rd, 2010, I was appointed Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia.
Did you say 3rd September or 3rd December?
I said 3rd December, December 3rd, yeah, 2010.
In a statement you had previously given, you put September.
Excuse me, can you say that again?
Okay, you're sure it's 3rd December 2010?
Oh, it's 3rd December. Oh, that must have been a mistake.
All right.
December 3rd, 2010.
Mr. Colley, of course, you're aware that the central bank is one of the institutions that are provided for in the Constitution of the Gambia.
Yeah.
You're aware of this?
Yes, I am.
How did you understand, or what did you understand your role as governor of the central bank to be?
As governor of Central Bank, by the Constitution and the Central Bank of the Gambia Act 2005, I've been charged, or the governor is charged with the responsibility of managing the affairs of Central Bank, the stewardship of Central Bank of the Gambia, as prescribed in the Central Bank Act or the Constitution 1997 Constitution. And because Central Bank is a special institution, as head of the institution, you are also the chairman, if you like, of the board of directors, which is the highest decision-making body of that institution.
That's all you wish to say about your role as governor?
Beyond that, there are specific responsibilities of the governor as provided in the Act. Apart from chairing proceedings of the Board of Directors meetings, another important committee, which is statutory provided in the Act, is to chair the proceedings of the Monetary Policy Committee, given that Central Bank of the Gambia is a monetary institution and it represents, is in charge of monetary affairs as far as the Gambia is concerned. And the day-to-day running of the institution, in short. Yeah.
What is the function of the central bank?
The main function of central bank is to ensure that price stability is achieved. Linked to that is financial stability. That is the Gambia's financial system. These are the main functions of Central Bank of the Gambia as enshrined in the Act. Beyond that, it's like to support government in terms of policy implementation relating to economic development.
Mr. Colley, I'll just read to you two provisions from the Constitution.
Yes.
Section 161, Establishment of the Central Bank. And Section 161, subsection 4, states, the central bank shall, among other things, and I draw your attention in particular to paragraph C and D. 4D says, the central bank shall encourage and promote sustainable economic development and the efficient utilization of the resources of the Gambia through the effective and efficient operation of a banking and credit system. And D, exercise such other functions as may be conferred on the central bank by an act of the National Assembly. Subsection 5 also states, among other things, that the bank, it shall be the duty of the central bank to ensure that money paid to or received for and on behalf of the government is recorded in proper books of account in accordance with recognized accounting standards. It shall ensure that all withdrawals from the various government accounts with itself are properly authorized in accordance with the Constitution and any act of the National Assembly, and that the overdrawing on any of the government accounts with itself is permitted only if so authorized. I'm sure you are aware of this provision.
I am, Madam Commissioner.
Firstly, I would like to find out from you what policies you had put in place to ensure that these provisions of the Constitution are complied with.
Okay.
The first one I would ask you is what policies or guidelines or rules did you have in place for opening of government accounts with the central bank?
Okay. Thank you very much. My reaction to the various provisions in the Constitution, that is right. What I try to do is like to broadly summarize. As it relates to policies or rules or guidelines, the first policy document is actually the Central Bank of the Gambia, Act, the latest being the 2005, the CBG Act 2005. Of course, the Constitution is supreme. Beyond that, there are other policy documents.
Sorry, Mr. Colley, you would, of course, have to recognize that the Central Bank Act is not a policy document, it's a statute.
Yeah,
it's an act of the National Assembly. Now, the question I asked you is in relation to the policies that you, as governor and chair of the board of the Central Bank, had put in place to make sure that the laws of the Gambia, include particularly the Constitution, is observed. So let's talk about policies.
Yeah, Madam Chairperson, maybe I should have rephrased it properly because the Central Bank...
I'm counsel, and that's Mr. Chairperson over there.
Sorry.
You may refer to me as Mrs. Bensouda if you wish, or counsel.
Thank you. It's like you're right. The Central Bank of the Gambia Act is statutory, and any other policy document that Central Bank prepares takes its source from that very document. So what we have at the Central Bank of the Gambia, as it relates to this particular area, number one, we have what we call currency instructions. This is a policy document which prescribes the way transactions as it relates to cash are treated at the Central Bank of the Gambia are managed. Number one.
Transactions, sorry, as related to cash?
Cash, yeah.
Okay.
This is cash, local currency cash. Number two, we have a very old banking manual. It's a policy document which deals with the way accounts on behalf of government, what we call government accounts, are managed.
Does it deal with the way in which they ought to be opened?
I would tell you that, Mrs. Bensouda, that that manual is so old that it is more or less irrelevant vis-a-vis the current practice. Because I will come to that. That there are practices, banking practices, that are not documented. In other words, you can't find a policy document at the Central Bank of the Gambia.
Mr. Colley, I find that to be an extraordinary statement from a governor who served from 2010 to 2016. 2010, yes, 2017, that's right, 2010 to 2017. That's a lot of years. And it was your responsibility to ensure that there were clear policies, and where there are no policies, to make sure that the policies are put in place.
Yeah, there are other policies, I'll finish. That one is...
Now, let's talk about the policies relating to the opening of accounts.
Okay.
You described it as a very old banking manual. Why would there be a very old banking manual for a governor who served the number of years you have served?
It is old because some aspects of it are relevant, but as it relates to the opening of accounts, the way Central Bank has been dealing with this matter is that government, through Accountant General, will make requests for the opening of accounts. And by virtue of the fact that the Central Bank of the Gambia, 2005, gives that authority to government institutions, for instance, the Accountant General or the Ministry of Finance, we act on those instructions. So at the level of Central Bank of the Gambia, we do not have a specific policy or a provision in any particular policy document prescribing how accounts should be opened. We do not.
You don't?
No, we don't.
The Constitution says you are the banker for the government.
Yes.
The central bank shall be the sole banker of the government.
That's correct.
And it shall be the principal depository bank for all funds raised for or on behalf of the government.
That's correct.
You have policies, guidelines for commercial banks. And you're telling us you don't have policies for government, for you to actually act as the banker for government. You don't have any policies relating to the opening of accounts.
No, there is no specific policy. Throughout my life at the Central Bank of the Gambia, there is not relating to that particular matter, which prescribes the way.
What does the old manual say?
Yeah, the old manual is, it is the Accountant General that would make a request to Central Bank of the Gambia to open an account, government account.
I see.
Yeah.
And you did not think it was important to have policies in place that would actually lay down the procedure and process for the opening of these accounts?
No, my view is that that was good enough, and I believe that's why Central Bank continued with that old practice.
All right. My concern, even if that is the policy, my concern is that that policy, in many of the instances that we have seen, was not even complied with. Do you agree that the policy was not complied with?
Yeah, that's the reason why I said it's out of it's a cake is old, because current practices, the practices that we...
You're saying it's old, so you did not have to comply with it?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
You did not have to comply with it?
Excuse me?
You're saying you did not have to comply with it because...
No, I am saying, practices, the current practices of Central Bank of the Gambia don't comply with that old act because it is believed by management that this is more than banking practice, that the old manual is not applicable anymore.
So what was applicable if the old manual wasn't applicable?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
So what was applicable? If the old manual was not applicable, what was applicable?
What happened was, because of the development of technology, electronic, to be more precise, the way things are done with technology is different from the manual, system. So technology has overtaken processes, procedures that were prescribed by the old manual.
So what is it that technology has overtaken in relation to the authority of the Accountant General to open accounts with the central bank?
Not exactly in terms of authority, Mrs. Bensouda, but it is in terms of procedure, actually.
So we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
You are guided by law, which is the Central Bank Act and the Constitution.
That's correct.
You had a manual in place
Yeah.
when you took over as governor.
That's right.
You had a policy,
Yeah.
according to what you have just told us.
Yeah.
You did not see fit to change the policy, but that's something else.
Yeah.
But you had a policy in place, and it said the Accountant General was the one who could open government accounts.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said. Request for opening of account from Accountant General. That's correct.
But as I said, you have opened accounts on the request of the Office of the President. You opened many accounts, including the International Gateway account, in which over 5 million was withdrawn by the Office of the President.
That's correct.
You opened the Special Projects Fund, Vision 2016 account, in which $45 million was withdrawn by the Office of the President.
That's
and
right.
you opened other accounts as well. Now, you did not comply with the policy. Are you telling us that you did not have to comply with the policy?
I want to believe that the opening of this account...
Did you have to comply with the policy?
Can you repeat that, Madam? Sorry.
My question is, was that policy, or let me put it this way, why was the policy not followed, simply?
As it relates to the opening of the account?
Yes.
I'm saying, I want to believe that all those accounts, would have opened through Accountant General. In other words, a request coming from Accountant General to open account on behalf of Office of the President. But it is a fact that requests, apart from Accountant General, we do have requests from, for instance, very few occasions from the Ministry of Finance for the opening of account. But on a majority of cases, it is routed through the Office of the Accountant General for Central Bank to open account.
Mr. Governor, or former Governor, I'm talking, let's focus on the accounts that I have just mentioned.
Okay.
Over at least the live accounts that we have seen, 18 accounts were opened, which were being operated from the Office of the President.
Okay.
Of those accounts, some accounts had a great deal of money that was spent by the Office of the President. I have mentioned 2 of these accounts, which are dollar accounts, which were opened by the Office of the President, with a reference from the Accountant General or from the Ministry of Finance. Now, I want to know what authority you had to open these accounts.
Mrs. Spencer,
on the request of the Office of the President.
I want to believe that one was opened through the Accountant General, especially the Special Projects Account, Vision 2016.
Right.
I think I remember seeing some correspondence of that sort.
It's in I believe. Vision 20. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we're just trying to sort out.
Can I make a statement relating to that, Chair?
Yeah, certainly, if it's relevant to the opening of the account.
Yeah, what happened was, following of course, prior to the change of political leadership in this country, when I say we, myself and some of the staff in the operations department were preparing a set of information. Personally, I expected that a day like today would arrive. Sometime, I think in February, we had put together a set of documents on almost every account controlled by Office of the President. Included in it and supplied to the investigation team at the front office is a summary which contains a list of accounts, who requested the opening of the account, who the controllers are, and who the authorized signatories are. That is available at the office of the front office, because there was this task force since February.
Don't worry, we have all the account opening information as well. Are you saying all the accounts that you opened were at the request of the Treasury Department? Is that what you're saying?
I cannot recall everything, but I do know that that particular summary does have that information.
All right, I'll come back to this in a moment. Do you have CB5? Can you show him CB5, please? Let me see. Open it. Yeah, show it to the witness, please. Okay. This is in respect of the sand mining account. We'll come back to the other accounts. I'm just sorting out the account opening signatories. Do you recollect the sand mining account?
Yes.
Who opened that account?
This is Office of the President.
Writing directly to you as governor.
That's correct.
And you replied opening the account.
That's right.
And there was no reference to the accountant general.
No.
Why is that?
No reference to accountant general by the Office of the President. But in our response, we copied the accountant general and the Minister of Finance.
Is that a compliance of the policy which said you should, only the accountant general can open an account?
Madam, coming back to the...
Let's not come back. Please answer my question, Mr. Former Governor. So, would you consider that the opening of the sand mining account was irregular?
It is, madam.
It was irregular?
Yeah, vis-a-vis that manual, it is. And that's why I made a statement that sometimes you get a request from the Minister of Finance. It's irregular, too.
No, we're not talking about the Minister of Finance here. We're talking about the Office of the President. So why would the central bank allow the Office of the President to operate an irregular account?
I'll tell you the answer.
We are curious to know the answer, certainly.
We were dealing at the Central Bank of the Gambia with a situation, a political leadership which was not normal. Not normal here meaning we could see signs of non-compliance with so many issues, so many matters. Beyond accounts, as far as Central Bank of the Gambia is concerned, there are other issues which more often than not you get the intervention of the Office of the President, and it is not normal because it's not in line with the Central Bank of the Gambia Act or any other policy that may exist at the Central Bank of the Gambia. So the question is, why did we, as you asked? The issue is, personally, and I believe my colleagues also feel the same, are not comfortable not carrying out the instruction of the Office of the President, or the President, to be more specific, President Jammeh.
That's your explanation?
That is.
Did you write back? Did you write back to say that there is a procedure for opening accounts and you have to go through the Accountant General's office?
We did not.
You did not think it was necessary to do that?
Personally, I don't think it was necessary to do that, in the sense that, to be honest, I'll be frank with you, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that at that point in time. And that's why we took the decision open and notified.
Why would you not feel comfortable? You are the custodian of public funds.
That's correct.
Money. All the money, all the consolidated revenue fund money is under your custody.
That's right.
Here is a procedure. One is not saying, say no, you cannot open the account. but simply go through the right procedure,
Yes.
which is the Accountant General's office. Why was it difficult to say that?
What we do, to be honest, I cannot provide you the evidence.
Why
Prior to
why
that,
was it difficult for you to tell the Office of the President that
No.
there is a procedure, please comply with the procedure?
no, I'm saying it is not in writing, but I'm saying over time, even when I was head of banking department, there are instances when word was passed by former governors about this very matter, and we could not just see any change at all. That office was not heeding to our advice in terms of the opening of account, and therefore we resort to making sure that the accountant general is aware that an account has been opened, and we also send them monthly statement.
Okay, Mr. Koli, could you give us an example of an account that was opened by the Office of the President without going through the Accountant General before you became governor?
I'm sorry, at this stage I really cannot.
Because you had said that even under former governors, similar practices were going on.
Oh, yes.
Just to be fair to former governors, we would like you to give us the information if you have it so that we can look at it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I cannot provide you that information at this
All right.
moment.
Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much. We'll come to the rest of the opening of the account since it's clear that the policy is a straightforward one, that the Accountant General is the only one that can open government accounts. Now, the other question I would like to ask you in relation to the opening of these accounts is that once the Accountant General writes, or the National Treasury Department, or Directorate of the Treasury, writes to say open an account, did you, as a matter of policy, or even practice, ask what the purpose of the account would be for? Because what we see, even where accounts are being opened, in many instances, you were just being asked to open an account in a particular name, and you were not given any reasons why such an account should exist.
Yeah.
Was there any policy on this issue?
No, there was no policy at all. There are instances when Accountant General would indicate, apart from giving the name of the account, what the purpose of the account would be. There could be also instances where they are silent on that matter. But what I know of is that more often than not, they would say under government deposits. So our presumption at that point in time is that it is the Accountant General as the accountant responsible for the accounts of government, to know what the purpose of the account is.
But as I read out to you, the Constitution says that you have to ensure that the accounts you keep on behalf of government and the monies paid from them are recorded in proper books of account and in accordance with recognized accounting standards.
That's correct. Yeah.
As a beneficiary who has an account in any bank, the bank would usually want to know, and it's part of their procedures, why the account was being opened, what the source of the income into the account was. Are you saying that the central bank has a different standard from what is understood to be the appropriate standard?
No, I'm not saying that. Accountant General will write defining the category of account, and that's government deposits. That's where all these accounts fall under, government deposits. So government deposits and monies belonging to government, public funds. But in terms of recording, as far as Central Bank of the Gambia, there is no distinction. They all fall under government deposits. They are public funds. So we are complying with the standards as far as government deposits are concerned.
But you just told us that you don't ask the Accountant General the purpose of the account being opened.
No, we don't, because that is irrelevant to us, Central Bank of the Gambia.
Is it relevant to you?
Yeah,
So
because
the Accountant
as long as
General-
it falls under government deposits, public funds.
So the Accountant General, as far as you were concerned, could open any account for any purpose?
They know what purpose. So for us, if they don't share that information, even if they do, it doesn't affect that categorization and the fact that at the end of the month, we render a statement for that group of accounts called government deposits.
What are the recognized accounting standards with regard to opening of accounts, as far as you understand them?
I'm sorry, I may not know the accounting standard. If that probably I have not studied any particular standard relating to the opening of accounts. So.
You were the governor of the central bank.
Yeah.
And this is a provision in the constitution,
Yes.
Mr. Koli. Yeah. And you're saying you don't know any recognized accounting standards which you were obliged to apply?
Yeah, the fact is the governor does not have to know that specific accounting standard to be applied for the opening of the account.
But in my own understanding, the governor has to know the provisions in the constitution which apply to his custody of government funds.
That's correct.
And to ensure that there are proper accounting standards, if that is what the constitution says.
That's right.
All right, let me put it this way. What steps did you take to ensure that there were recognized accounting standards?
First of all, over time, because we have an accounting department unit who are the specialists as far as accounting standards are concerned. And we maintain accounts, I believe, based on those standards. So with the support of the technical staff and the fact that you have external auditors also examining, especially as far as compliance with standards are concerned, issues will be raised of non-compliance with those standards.
I'm going to show you some transactions in some of these accounts.
Okay.
And the first one I'm going to show you is an amount of $36 million. It's a transaction relating to an amount of $36 million. And your own part in this transaction. This is Exhibit CB18, and it's from the International Gateway account. Do you remember that transaction?
Can I take a minute or less to look at this, please? Yes, I do.
Now, the voucher indicates that it's 36 million, dated 17 June 2014.
Yes.
And attached to it is a memo that you, as governors, addressed to the second deputy governor.
That's right.
That's correct?
That's correct.
And you said during the months of March and April 2014, the Central Bank of the Gambia made various payments on the request of the Office of the President. Documentation in the form of letters of instructions with the appropriate signatories is pending. In this regard, authority is hereby granted to pass necessary entries to debit the International Gateway account, number 110-300-1840, with the amounts indicated in the table below. Copies of requests from the Secretary General and Minister of Presidential Affairs are attached. And you have sums 5 million, 1 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. And these were all requests for payments that were made without the signatories being provided. That's what you mean by signatory spending?
Yes.
You recollect this transaction. Now, I would like you to tell us what provision in your accounting, the accounting standards you saw a little while ago said you had that passed muster through audits and so on. What permits you to be able to do this? To allow, you're having difficulty hearing.
It echoes.
All right, maybe I'm too close. Mr. Koli, I'd like you to show us or tell us or draw attention to any policy guideline rules which would permit the central bank to hand over money to persons without proper signature, and then to regularize the transaction months afterwards?
Let me give the perspective.
Please answer my question first, then you can give any perspective that you have.
Okay.
To be of assistance to the Commission, we would like to understand how such a transaction could take place. Now, if you do have any provisions, any guidelines, any rules that permitted you to do this, please draw our attention to it first.
There is none, but this is not a normal situation. There is none.
There is none?
No, there is none. And in the first place, ordinarily such a request should not have been made without the documentation, proper, complete documentation.
Okay. Now, if you have anything else you wanted to say, because it's a fact-finding commission.
What I wanted to say is to share my experience with this commission as relates to these matters. There are instances when we will get a request from Office of the President in the form of a call or in the form of a note, just like the notes that have been attached here, where the officers sending these notes would indicate that documentation would be completed, would be submitted. So we would accept this. I would authorize that payment and follow up for documentation.
Mr. Colley, just let's stop there for a moment. What right or power did you have to actually tell us that you authorized the withdrawal of public funds without proper signature on a phone call?
No, I'm not saying on a phone call. I said we will get a request. Can I say, let's get this right?
Yes.
I said we will get a call, and then such a memo would come. Such a memo would come. Similar to these memos that have been attached. It is upon the receipt of these that I would act on them.
Yes, I want to understand what power. Remember, you're governor of the central bank.
That's right.
And your role was prescribed in the Constitution.
That's correct.
And you had a central bank act which prescribed your role.
Yeah.
Your power was not limitless. So we would like to understand what authority or power you had to hand over money on the basis of a memo from any quarters in government.
Madam, I think my response to this would be, I would consider consequences, and based on what I hear of my colleagues in public life, their experience, I made the decision not to avoid any possible consequences either on me, my family, with my life, and therefore, so I could act on these. And when the documentation is complete, that will cover the documentation. For instance, memos from the Secretary General, for instance, I would act on them.
You would act on them?
I made that decision instead of saying no.
You made the decision?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We hear what you're saying. You made a decision to hand over public funds without proper documentation or procedure, and you're standing by that decision, I believe.
I made those decisions with the belief that documentation will be complete, and where they continue to be pending, I gave authority for them to charge the account, because monies were disbursed based on memos from the Secretary General.
Can we have the documents back, please? Collect the documents. I'll show you another document, from Exhibit CB20. You said monies were paid on the request of the Secretary General. I'll show you this one, which you said, I'll read it and I'll show it to you. This is to certify that payment of 250,000 United States dollars was today, August 3rd, 2015, made to Mr. Sanajaju, Chief of Protocol for the Office of the President. The payment was made in the following denomination. Can you explain this? Because what we have is signed Sanajaju. Okay. Can you give him this one as well, please? This one also, come, stand by me. This one is a payment certificate. This is to certify that payment of 400,000 United States dollars was today, August 17, made to Mr. Sanajaju, Chief of Protocol for the Office of the President. Signed, Amadou Koli. Now, those were occasions when you had nothing from the Secretary General's office, according to your own certificate.
That's correct.
And yet substantial payments were made to a protocol officer.
That's right.
Yes. Well, can you explain this to the Commission?
Again, for so many years, during the life of the Second Republic, even with Taiwan funds, we had heard instances where either protocol officers or special aides of the president, some of them are not alive anymore, would appear at Central Bank of the Gambia with a message, with the information that they are directed to make a withdrawal on behalf of the president from this particular account or other account. When it started initially, specifically relating to Sana, he would insist for the president.
Sorry, relating to who?
Sana Jajo,
yes,
was the chief of protocol at the time, would insist on the president actually signing, and he would prepare, according to what he told me, would prepare a note and get the president to sign. He told me of his frustration that he's not able to, or that the president has asked him to just go and get this from this account, make the withdrawal. So when they come, and this has been the practice of Central Bank of the Gambia, even in the 90s, the early days of the Second Republic, where governors would commit those agents, those aides, to such a statement so that they write that indeed they are directed by the president. And we certify that they have been paid so much and get them to sign and take a copy of their ID cards as well.
Are you saying that before you became governor, this was a practice before you became governor? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yes.
Can we have any examples of any documents of this nature before you became governor?
I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to do so because I was not then involved, and I know it's a delayed Baba Job. I will be specific. I'm aware of those kind of, but I don't have
But you were governor for so many years, in charge of the institution, in charge of the records.
Yes.
I would like you to confirm whether any records exist which substantiate what you have just told us, that before you became governor, this was a practice that was in place.
I cannot provide you with any record. I don't have access. Of course, if I was governor, I would go and search for those documentation. But we took it from what was the practice at the time, I believe, on the frustration of my previous governors, that the same practice continued.
Mr. Colley, I just want to, this is a fact-finding commission.
Yeah.
This is a fact-finding commission,
yeah,
and the commission will not act on anything other than facts.
That's correct.
If such a practice existed, as according to what you are alleging, we would like to be able to investigate the practice. That is, if it existed before you became governor. Would you like to be availed the opportunity of locating documents to prove what you have alleged to the commission?
And the challenge is I'm not with the bank anymore.
We will provide you access to provide the documents that you say exist.
It would be awfully difficult for me to trace any document because I was not involved in the transaction. But I I've witnessed instances where the late Babajo, just as the General Suleiman Baji, these Sana Jajus, would appear to the bank, and the bank get them committed to write such a letter.
But Mr. Koli, the Sana Jajus and the General Bajis, these are people who existed during the period you were governor, and not before.
Yeah, that's correct. So those are available.
Let me show you these are the transaction documents. This time, it says, signed by you. The OIC of Finance and the Director of Finance are authorized to pay General Suleiman Baji or the Office of the President 100,000 cash and 7,916,000 respectively. Again, the letter said, requests for payment have been directed by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia to receive the withdrawal of. And it says 3 million, then it was scratched, and it says 800,000. 100,000 cash and 200,000 equivalent in Gambian dollars. Signed, General Suleiman Baji. And you authorized it, it seems. Can you confirm this?
Sorry, what's the exhibit number, please?
20. It's the bundle of 20. BB20. CB20.
CB20.
Yes. It's part of the bundle CB20. It is correct that you authorized that one as well?
Yes, I do confirm.
You also confirmed that the signatory to this account, that is the account you're holding, Special Project Funds, Vision 2016 account, had only one signatory.
That's
and
right.
that was the ex-president.
President Jammeh.
I'll just show you a couple more transactions, then I have some general questions for you, and that's what I have. Now, we talked about request for payment by Sana Jaju, request for payment by General Baji. We have another request for payment by Nuha Williams, MS Jammeh.
Yeah, Nuha Jammeh, but it should indicate that he has been asked by General Baji to act on his behalf.
It says with reference to the request for cash withdrawal. This is from the bundle, Mr. Chairman, of Exhibit CB20. I have been directed to receive the first tranche of 100,000 on behalf of the Office of the President. The balance of 400,000 will be collected later. It says signature of recipient on behalf of General Suleiman Baji for the Office of the President. Signed, Nuha Williams, MS Jammeh. That's all we have.
That's right.
And the money was paid to him.
Yes.
Can you show him this? So is it correct then to say that any officer who came to you and said they were directed by General Suleiman Baji or the President would be paid money?
No, I mean, no, that is not the case.
Because
specifically for General Suleiman Baji.
Who is Nuha Williams, MS Jammeh?
No, it's also one of those military officers in the Office of the President.
Exactly, just one of those military officers.
Yes.
So I repeat the question. So if any military officer from the Office of the President came and said they were directed by the President to withdraw money, you would hand over the money?
No, I am saying that I would get on many occasions an SMS from General Baji, a text message to say that the President wants to make a withdrawal. And sometimes he would say, no, I would not be available, but I will send so-so. And those are the instances when Jammeh, Nuha William Jammeh, and General Tamba, I can't remember the first name, General Tamba, would step in on behalf of General Suleiman Baji.
Text messages?
Yeah, SMS message.
Did you keep any of them?
I would want to believe they're still in my mobile.
I see.
Yeah. Still.
You are governor of the central bank.
Yes.
In any country, even the Gambia, one presumes that you would have access to the president.
Yes.
Why didn't you simply access the president on these occasions and make sure that he signed the paperwork, relevant paperwork for the withdrawal of these funds?
I mean, this is a precedent which the Constitution provides for meeting the president every 6 months.
Which Constitution?
This is 1997 Constitution, or the Central Bank Act, one of them. But statutory, one of these, every six months.
But that is to brief the president on monetary policy, on the way but where the president has been approved to be a signatory to an account, and officers of the president come to you as governor requesting for payment on his behalf. Did you not think, Governor, that you owed it to the Gambians, the public interest, to make sure that it was the president who signed for these withdrawals?
I was coming to that. I'm saying if you have such a provision in the Constitution for whatever, whether it is for economic advice or whatever, and there are issues even relating to this account where I have made several requests through protocol officers. Finally, I have used every other protocol officer, insisting that I want to see the president to discuss, including the General Baji himself, because I know General Baji seemed to have either some influence over the president, but at least I had the belief that he can make it happen to see the president. I was not. For 3 good years, I had never met the president on any matter, whether it's on the account matter or it's on the economy. It's not.
And it was acceptable to you to be sitting with in your office, Mr. Koli, not being able to meet the president, but to be handing over cash of this magnitude, because the cash that was withdrawn from this account is over $30 million, cash that worked out of the central bank with different officers. It was okay with you that you could not see the president, but you would hand over public funds of that magnitude to officers from his office.
Madam, it's not, it is not okay at all.
Please refer to me as Mrs. Bensouda or Council.
No, Mrs. Bensouda.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Bensouda, it is not okay at all, but I don't want to seem as if I just let things go. The fact of the matter is, I had made this earlier, that we were dealing with an abnormal situation. And for me personally, I was not comfortable at all. So for my life, my family concerns, I would not have, if the president had allowed me, of course, I would advise him that this is not right. But I could not have stopped withdrawals, or the opening of account, or withdrawals, or seizing Gamtel's money, which I did not even know of until subsequently when withdrawals were being made frequently, that indeed this Gamtel's money. I could not, under these circumstances, dealing with somebody who is not even normal. I could not.
Somebody who wasn't normal?
No,
who is this somebody who wasn't normal?
That is President Jammeh, in terms of making sure that things are done in line with principles, known principles, acceptable principles, practices, or policies.
You did not.
And I expect him to know.
You did not resign, Mr. Koli.
I did not. I did not. I contemplated resigning. I'm aware of a situation where a colleague wanted to resign, a former minister. I said, no, you cannot under the circumstances, because you have to be concerned about our lives at the time.
You were concerned about your life.
Yes,
should you resign?
Yeah. If I was able to resign and leave the country, I would have done so. Or quietly leave the country.
Are you saying?
I had never experienced this in my life throughout my 30 years service.
Did you write to anyone to complain to the Minister of Finance or anything? Is even one letter that you can show us
No, I
to
did not
object
write.
to what was going on?
I did not write to the Minister of Finance or Ministers of Finances at the time, no.
Did you
Of
discuss?
course, we talked, we discussed.
Did you discuss the situation with the Minister of
Yes, I
Finance?
did. I did.
Who was the Minister of Finance with whom
I
you
have
discussed the
dis-
situation?
I have discussed with the 3 ministers that I have worked with. I have discussed with then Minister Mamure Njai. I have discussed with Minister Keba Ture. I have discussed with Minister Abdul Kole on a number of situations.
And what was their position?
For
In
them-
relation, I just want to know, in relation to you, Governor, handing over monies to officers from the Office of the President, what was the position of these ministers of finance?
It's not in writing, but of course, they don't like it.
That's all, they didn't like
Yeah,
it?
they didn't like it. But they couldn't help.
They told you they didn't like it, but there was nothing they could do?
Yes, because they also tell me of their experiences as well as far as fiscal management is concerned. Any challenges that they have with the Office of the President or with President Jammeh.
Can we have the documents back? Please collect the documents from... Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any more questions at the moment.
I'll ask one question. I think you said that the situation in the Gambia was abnormal.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Mr. Chairman, what I mean by abnormal is that, number one, as far as I'm concerned, you have a political leadership, President Jammeh, that does not pay heed to policies, laws as it relates to us, Central Bank of the Gambia. There are instances of interference with policies that we are responsible, specifically foreign exchange, policies. So that is not a normal, situation at all. But more importantly, is the concern that I have, and I believe is the same concern that other public officers have, of facing some consequences. The least, of course, is sacking. That's the least amount. So the way matters are...
I've heard that before, the list.
Yeah.
Well, what was the worst?
Sorry? The worst would be, as far as I'm concerned, 2 things. Of course, you die once, but imagine being being detained for months and not having access to being heard in a fair manner, it's really painful. Fortunately, I've never faced such, but could have.
Is that all?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you finish. I just had a couple of questions. Yes. Mr. Kole, I just wanted you to confirm for the record. When you wrote saying those memos to your deputy governor saying that the signatories would be regularized, and we don't have any record of their being regularized, did you instruct that a letter be written to these army officers mostly for the signatories to be regularized?
Written to the army?
Any of them, all these officers who were withdrawing funds, the Secretary General, for instance, did you write to say, could he kindly regularize these withdrawals?
Let me just say, there is this, these ones that you showed me on one of the documents, most of them came, at least for that batch, former Secretary General Sabali. I did not write, but of course on a number of occasions, I've been on the phone for regularization. Unfortunately, when he was terminated, you cannot turn to other Secretary Generals as well on this matter. So and on Sana Jajo, on Sana, as I said earlier, at the initial stage, SANA was able to get the president's sign. But if he refuses to do so and SANA still comes, you don't think of getting these things regularized. And then at some stage, SANA too left the office.
Did it concern you that if the signatory refuses to sign, there might be assumptions that he did not receive the money?
Yes, madam.
But
yes, Mrs. Bensouda.
But you still continue to give officers these monies?
We were with the belief, and I believe, even if I cannot provide you evidence, that he was acting on the president. Sana Jaju, General Suleiman Baji, acting on behalf of the president. And I made this statement that on a regular basis, we would send these statements to that office.
All right, just
in addition to sending statements to Accountant General as well, with the list of balances.
One more question. Is there any rule anywhere which allows the president to operate accounts in the central bank? Is there any precedent, for instance?
I don't know of, of any. During the First Republic, I have worked for the bank. I've not seen any.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Governor, one question.
Yes.
In terms of hierarchy in the civil service, are you answerable to a commissioned officer in the National Army?
No.
Good. If a general who's supposed to worry about the defense and security of our country comes to you and is requesting for withdrawal from an account he's not a signatory to, did you seize the opportunity to educate and guide him that you need a callback and a confirmation from the sole signatory to the account before you gave out money? Second, did you really have to deal with him? You had people under you who could have handled withdrawal matters. As a governor, did you really have to be involved? Please tell us.
Okay, let me answer the first part. Yeah, he's a general and should take care of staff matters, security matters of the country, national security. But again, another situation which is not normal, where President Jammeh is using a general as his aide on this matter, this very matter. So as far as we are concerned as Central Bank of the Gambia, he's acting on behalf of President Jammeh.
He's not a signatory to the account.
No, he's not.
And you didn't confirm that the request came from the president. So the fear that surrounded your authorization may have been unfounded.
No.
Our concern is that the general received the money without the president's instructions. Of course, we can't substantiate that, but there is that possibility. The Secretary General calling, saying he will send instructions later, and yet money leaving, and there were numerous future withdrawals for which he never sent pending documents, yet you acted. The Secretary General, are you also answerable to him?
I am not directly answerable to the Secretary General. As I said, again, these are abnormal situations, and that's the reason, the precaution that we took. I never call Jammeh, President Jammeh. I don't even have his number. I don't even have access to President Jammeh. Neither would we even think of verifying whether the person he sent, a general.
We know when somebody represents the hallmark of power.
Yes.
But when that individual takes it upon himself to be a signatory to an account, he has to be subjected to what the conditions of the account are.
Correct.
Where he stays away and acts as the hallmark of power, we can understand. But he decided to be a signatory.
That's correct.
You needed his signature before withdrawal.
That's
you
right.
didn't get it. You kept authorizing, including even giving money to non-commissioned officers upon a promise that the authorization will come. They never came, and yet it continued. You lent them a beautiful loan. They didn't fulfill their part. They said instructions will come later. They never came.
Yes.
When a second request comes, you say, I'm waiting for this. and you didn't have to deal with it. You had banking officers who could have said, absent proper documentation, we are unable to process this. Was that risk on you?
Mr. Sen, let's get it right. Yes, I'm the governor. I'm not involved in the disbursement.
Sorry, you
Mr. Chair.
address a commissioner, honorable commissioner.
Honorable Commissioner.
Thank you.
Honorable Commissioner, on the operation side, I don't get involved, but if it is not endorsed by the governor, that officer in banking department and all the officers that are involved in the process would not take any action. So it is not that the governor himself is involved in the operation itself, but that authorization comes from the governor once the letter is addressed to the governor.
The endorsement was done on an unauthorized transaction without documentation.
Yeah.
That's the involvement. Did you really have to do that?
I think I have answered that. What I said earlier on is because this is not normal, and we believe that it's Yahya Jammeh. Why would President Jammeh refuse to continue signing when he knew that he should sign those memos?
Maybe he never issued those instructions.
I'm saying
you couldn't confirm to this commission, whether it was earlier or today, that he wrote those instructions. They came from General Baji. They came from Sanajaju. They came from Williams Jammeh. They came from even the protocol officer of the former Secretary General. No, the Audley of the former Secretary General. So how did you ensure they were the instructions from the sole signatory?
I also made a statement that, for instance, the Audley you are talking about, the Secretary General, remember Mr. Sabali, actually calling and say he cannot appear in person. Yes, it is true that personally I cannot confirm whether the monies actually went to Yahya Jammeh, whether Yahya Jammeh sent them, but acted on the belief that they are staff of office of the president. And because we sent statements, balances.
The statements went way after the authorizations.
Yeah.
Yes. So the due diligence, the operational compliance happens before the funds leave the bank.
That's true.
Yes, but that didn't happen. Maybe the repeated request came because these people believe that anybody, as long as they cited, I am directed by somebody at the office of the president, anybody will receive money. Council alluded to that.
Yes, and I said, yes, he used the word assumption, and I say, yes, that is a possibility. It is a possibility.
Let's now discuss what happens to people who fear for their lives or for their positions.
Yeah.
They put things on record. They write, they educate, they guide. Absent any document from you, from your junior officials, a simple request to open an account at the central bank. The least they could have done is to say, we have received your letter. We will act accordingly, but please route it through the accountant general, and within a few days it will be open. That never happened. Straight from the office of the president to the central bank, it was open. So those guys who are clueless about procedure assume that it's the right way, and they kept sending requests that they didn't need to go through.
Commissioner said, let's say that didn't happen with some of the accounts, but with the majority accounts, they came through the accountant general.
But
yes, your statement is factual. Yeah.
You had some accounts.
Some came directly from the office of the president. That's
and
true.
you assume they had knowledge that they had to go through accountant general?
Excuse me?
Did you assume that they had the knowledge that it had to go through the accountant general, and yet they ignored it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
But you can flip it. Then why did they route the orders through accountant general?
Well, that is for office of the president and Mr. Yahya Jammeh and his colleagues too.
But do you agree that you at least owed it to them to educate and guide them using principles? In a letter, not written or signed by you, but at least somebody responsible for account opening in the bank. That didn't happen.
That could have done, but in a situation where they know that's the procedure.
So where was the risk for your life or position in responding to a junior officer? And it wasn't the president who signed that request to open the account. It was what? Secretary to cabinet?
Yes.
Junior secretary? You could have written to them or asked one of your officials to write to them. This time it's not even going to them. It's actually going to be CC'd to the same people that you CC'd, that we will open it, but please pass it through the accountant general, which is the proper channel. So there we missed an opportunity to educate and guide people who were clueless.
Commissioner Sen, let me share one experience.
Please.
With you. I was not in the country. I traveled on an official mission. But my colleagues, deputy governors, called me and got me on the phone. That is an urgent matter. That the former Secretary to Cabinet came running to the bank. Said, look, the President said this account, and to be more specific, is the Special Projects Account Vision 2016, must be open today, and those details should be sent to whoever is funding the account, otherwise heads will roll. Not that of just the cabinet, secretary to cabinet, but central bank staff. I got the information from my colleagues. I said, and I gave them the authority, please go ahead and open, and then they can get us the documentation completed. So yes, there are instances, but can you imagine, do you expect such from whatever authority, such statement? No. That's why I call it is not normal.
Mr. Colley, just two questions, please.
No.
One of the things mentioned before was that we all know that central bank acts as the banker for government. And one of the objectives read before in the Constitution was that one of the roles is to ensure that efficient utilization of public resources. Mm-hmm. So in your view, do you think that you played that role in ensuring that the utilization of public resources was used properly?
Yes, I believe, because when we refer to public resources here, it's not just the government deposit accounts or monies that are lodged in consolidated revenue fund. Yes, we have, because we have worked with with the Ministry of Finance as far as fiscal management is concerned. We have done our best in terms of managing, the meager reserves that we have as a country. When we relating to this specific, payment, certainly it's not the resources were not used properly, because there is no transparency in the use of those resources. Certainly not.
Okay, that's very clear. The other thing is, as a body or a corporate, or when you have your deputy governors and other staff, was this matter ever discussed internally or communicated to the board to see the best way of dealing with that? This situation that you say is abnormal.
Yes. On almost a quarterly basis, apart from subject-specific issues, anything relating to the office of the president, including the manner in which these accounts are operated, particularly the gateway account and the special project accounts, the directors, board of directors, would be, brief, or sometimes through the audit committee. I don't sit on the audit committee. There will be audit of these government accounts. It may not be as detailed as the information that has been presented to the investigation team or currently presented here. But withdrawals, yes. Dealing with the effects, the intervention, yes.
So in that case, you'd say that the board, or would you say it went to the board level as well?
No, I said we would appraise. Deputy governors are aware, because we have briefing, we discuss, we are all aware. Because if I am not around, any deputy governor who is in charge would step in and act in the same manner as well.
I see. Okay. I think Council mentioned before, asked a question about why you did not resign before.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it was due to fear. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
I'm just intrigued, because I know there were other governors before you that moved on maybe due to one reason or the other. And I think from what we understand is that the governor is appointed for a 5-year term, which is renewable.
Can you, I can't hear you.
Can you, okay. Can you hear me better?
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay.
Councillor?
Now, I said you were asked a question before why you did not resign from the post.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it is due to fear, if I'm accurate.
That's right.
Okay. My statement is there were other governors that were in position prior to yourself, taking up the position in 2010.
Yes.
That left maybe due to one reason or the other. Governors are appointed for a 5-year term,
yes,
I believe, and it's renewable.
Yes.
So I'm just intrigued why, if you felt that this was such an abnormal situation, why you did not feel the need to probably look for other opportunities or, you know, whatever it is, yes.
The last bit.
Yeah, why you did not look for other opportunities? You know, if you felt that it was such an abnormal situation that was not sustainable.
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you that, yes, I have been looking not just for a job outside, the country. Of course, I was also looking for a situation, where as long as I am out with my family and can be taken care of, I would have done so. The previous governors were fortunate, they had jobs and left the services of Central Bank of the Gambia, with the exception of the late Clark Bajo. The previous two were lucky that they had jobs and they left within a short period of time, 3-4 years.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Very well. Time is up. We will rise until... What's your question?
Chair, can I make the statements if that is permissible, acceptable? Sometimes I follow reports, and this is to provide clarification. It relates to the same matter. I think Vision 2016, the last transaction of Vision 2016 account, $100,000, or say 99, almost $100,000. In Dallas terms, it's about 4 million. 4 million. You would have observed that what we call value date, the disbursement was made and the day the record was made is different. And there's this report that Central Bank paid out monies after the departure of the former president.
Is that all?
So the statement that I want to make here is to bring about this clarity, to clarify that while disbursement was made upon the receipt of information of the remittance by MGI, MGI, and the actual withdrawal date, which is the early part of January, I think this is around 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of January. That record would have been done by a different department, which is finance department, because they deal with foreign transactions. But Dallasy payments and the recording of Dallasy payments, local currency payments, is done by currency office on the banking department, which happened after the departure of the former President Jammeh. So you have a situation where funds would have been received. Of course, through SWIFT, you can get that information. But within this period of January, when virtually there was no activity, or nobody was really concentrating, there is a delay, a time lag in the recording. And it so happened that the recording, which is not actually the value date, happens to be date beyond, after the departure of the president. So my statement is that that central bank actually sent money to Yahya Jammeh wherever he is.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think the witness said this. If there was any misrepresentation, maybe it's in the reporting. Okay. But the witness made it very clear that the transaction occurred before the 21st of January, certainly. but it was entered in their books on the 23rd. I think that's what he's alluding to.
Oh, thank you.
But that doesn't change the fact that the payment was made, I think, money was paid out on the 3rd of January. On the 3rd of January.
That's true.
Yeah, during the transition period, when
That's
the
correct.
president was expected to leave.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is that all
That's
you have to say? All right. We'll be back at 2:30.
Yo,